A lot has changed in Destiny over the years. Destinations, abilities, the war with the Cabal on Mars, exotics too. So why don't we take a look at how gear in Destiny 2 stacks up to their Destiny 1 counterparts. In this episode, we're going to take a look at Thorn. Thorn has been a part of Destiny since Vanilla D1. It was introduced as part of the game's first round of exotic quests. In order to acquire the quest, you had to turn in hundreds of bounties, and pretty much just pray that you'd get lucky. On top of this, the quest itself was no joke. It was surprisingly long and laborious, and included the notorious PvP step that would take away progress when you died. Finally completing the quest was well worth it though. After a handful of buffs, players quickly realized that Thorn was beyond overpowered, and it would stay that way for quite some time. The gun had incredible range, and its exotic perk allowed it to kill guardians with a mere 2 shots to the head. Thorn dominated the PvP scene for almost the entirety of Year 1. No Crucible match was complete without a Thorn user, and trying to compete in trials without it would instantly handicap you. It still gives me PTSD to this day. The community cried out for nerfs, but it appeared as if Bungie was hearing none of it. People suffered through Thorn's reign for months, until it was finally nerfed alongside the release of the Taken King expansion. The nerf toned down its range, and reduced the effectiveness of the gun's damage over time effect. No more 2-taps, no more pain. The gun still had its uses inside of the Crucible, but it would never again be the force that it was during Year 1. Let's take a look at the perks. The gun gives you a choice between 3 barrels and buffs to its ADS speed, range, or stability. The first main perk is Final Round, causing the last bullet in the mag to deal bonus damage. The exotic perk, Mark of the Devourer, is where Thorn's identity truly lies. It allows rounds to pierce and hit multiple targets, and also causes each shot to apply a damage over time effect. To be completely honest, I was surprised at how well Thorn performed while getting this gameplay. I remember the nerfs being harsher, but maybe I'm remembering wrong or was being too hard on the weapon back then. It felt very consistent and was able to secure kills shockingly quickly. Part of what contributed to this was its range. Though there was noticeable damage fall off, I was still able to get hits on people who were pretty far away. Even if engagements at those ranges didn't lead to kills all that often, it was still nice to be able to apply pressure or clean up a weak guardian trying to scamper away. Similarly, the stability also helped the gun's consistency. Even without perfect balance, the gun's center speed was fast enough that, with some practice, allowed you to take the full advantage of its rate of fire. The exotic perk helped a surprising amount too. It only ticked for 1 or 2 damage most of the time, but it genuinely secured me a number of kills that I wouldn't have gotten with any other weapon. Whether I was able to post-mortem someone or walk away from a close gunfight, the burn was no joke. Overall, this version of Thorn was a pleasant surprise. Now, let's fast forward to Destiny 2, shall we? Thorn was reintroduced as part of an exotic quest during the Season of the Drifter. The quest saw players bounce between various activities before ultimately capping it off with a special version of the Savathûn Song Strike. The community was a little on edge to see how the gun would turn out. Would it come back for revenge and return as overpowered as ever? Would Bungie be cautious and nerf it into the ground so as not to upset the balance of the game? In the end, the gun was absolutely, completely balanced. It felt good to use, but was by no means out of line compared to other hand cannons, and the exotic perk gave the gun a unique identity without it being too oppressive. It sat very comfortably within the meta since its reintroduction, being a viable option in both PvP and PvE, but never feeling necessary. Onto the perks. The gun is surprisingly similar to its D1 counterpart, with one major difference. The exotic perk is once again Mark of the Devourer, causing the gun to overpenetrate targets and deal damage over time. But now, getting a kill with Thorn also leaves behind something called a remnant. Going over to one of these remnants and picking them up partially refills the magazine and buffs the damage over time effect for a short time. These remnants were crucial to getting the balance of Thorn just right. Without the buff they provide, the damage over time effect is pretty much insignificant. It ticks for like 1 damage in PvP and isn't going to make much of a difference in PvE. When you finally do pick one up though, Thorn truly begins to stand out. With the buff active, Thorn is once again able to 2-tap in the Crucible. The dot will tick for 7 damage, making quick work of any guardians that you come across. I think high resilience will prevent 2-taps, but I mean imagine running high resilience, couldn't be me. The significance of this buff means that you want to have it active as much as possible. This essentially encourages an aggressive minigame of kill confirmed. After you get your first kill off spawn, you want to get that orb and start going after your next target as soon as possible. Effectively chaining kills and orb pickups together will make you a dueling menace, but that's not all. It's still good in PvE too. Due to the significantly increased number of enemies, You can have the buff active for entire encounters without much difficulty. This will make your DPS skyrocket, since you're straight up dealing more damage and taking away a lot of the downtime that comes with reloading. Ultimately, Thorn is probably in the best spot it's ever been in terms of balance and effectiveness, so if you can take the time to go out and get it, yeah, do that. But those are just my thoughts on the evolution of Thorn. If you've got some thoughts of your own, or want to request a weapon for me to cover in the series, leave them down in the comments. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.